Something I think many neurotypicals don't appreciate is the lengths we have to go to, the effort we have to put in to succeed socially. We have to mask, present a desirable front, camouflage the undesirable traits, and compensate for our difficulties, whether it's with executive dysfunction, sensory overwhelm, or not being able to read people socially or engage in small talk, whatever it is. It's a huge, huge, huge effort. Because a lot of those things don't come second nature to us. We can't regulate our social overwhelm, our sensory overwhelm, our executive overwhelm. We can find strategies to manage them, but these strategies, they all require effort. Consistent effort, sustained concentration. I know I'm going to have to sustain my attention when I'm interacting with somebody and listening to what they say, even if they're boring me, even if they're talking too long about something that I'm not interested in. I know that I'm going to have to try to screen out the background noise in a crowded room because of my auditory processing related challenges. And it's going to make it really hard to concentrate on what they're saying. I know that I'm going to try to intuit what that person is wanting from me in that interaction, what kind of feedback they're wanting, what kind of emotional reaction, and making sure I emote and present that so that, I am showing the requisite amount of kindness, understanding, compassion, empathy, that I'm, connecting with them, syncing up with them in a way that reads as socially acceptable, validating to that person, that I'm interested in them, and that I'm enjoying the exchange, and that I really see them for who they are and want them to know that I like them and the moment we're having. And that's a lot. And my default would want to be to just go blank with my expression and my tone, minimize my gestures, not exert all that effort, and just unmask and present my authentic self and not go to all that effort. But I know that I have to, because it's just part of social reciprocity. The rules of social engagement are that you will do some of these things. And yes, we can explain that we're neurodivergent, and we can ask for accommodations and for social grace. But those expectations are hardwired regardless of neurotype. To some extent, you do want to feel heard and validated by the person you're speaking to, whether you are neurotypical or neurodivergent. So the rules still apply to us, even if we're interacting with fellow neurodivergents. Yes, we can probably lower our guard a little bit, present a little bit more authentically, speak directly, but we're still wanting to be seen, heard, felt, validated by the other person. So these aren't rules that are imposed strictly by neurotypicals. It's just part of, again, the social rules of reciprocity. And of course, how you reciprocate can vary from person to person, and you can adjust according to your needs as a neurodivergent. You're not expected to fit a certain mold. You can find your own version of reciprocity and what that looks like for you, what's comfortable for you. Granted, there's always going to be some degree of performance for that. And that is going to take a toll on you, and it's going to drain you. And that's why I limit a lot of my social interactions to 2 to 3 hours. And I try to do them in low stakes environments without sensory overwhelm, with low commitment. For example, a hike, I can move throughout the group and talk to different people, and not talk to different people, because it's perfectly legitimate that I'm going to be focusing on the hiking than not necessarily talking. And people tend to be more likely to initiate on those events, I've noticed, and to strike up a conversation, which makes it easier for me because I'm always in my head, not wanting to come on too strong, not wanting to say the wrong thing, not sure what the appropriate small talk is to use to kind of draw somebody into a conversation. That makes it a lot easier, and it takes the strain off somewhat. But again, at the end of that period, I'm going to be tired. I'm going to feel drained. I'm going to need to probably go do an introvert activity to recharge my batteries, engage with a passion on my own. And I understand that for the most part, people aren't going to see that invisible struggle, and I'm not going to talk about it because they won't necessarily understand it, or they won't be able to relate to it. And also, it's information that they don't know what to do. But what I can do is set boundaries and limits, and set reasonable expectations in my communication with people. Hey, I can hang out for this amount of time and I can do this. How do you feel about that? And negotiate, compromise. It doesn't always have to go one way. We can meet somewhere in the middle and find something that can meet my needs as a neurodivergent, and also meet that person's needs regardless of their neurotype in terms of what they want. It's a process of discussion and mutual understanding and trying to take perspectives, right? And we have, as much as the other person has, a responsibility to try to take the other person's perspective and to try to accommodate that perspective and the underlying needs. And regardless of how much of a difficult experience it can be socializing, we can always find some degree to which we can socialize. a lot of people get black and white about this. A lot of neurodivergents like, I just can't do it. It's too much. It's too overwhelming. I don't want to do it. I'd rather just be on my own and hang out with my cat or my dog. I get that. I'm on board with that. But I think there is much meaning, fulfillment, and enrichment that comes from social interactions, and we deprive ourselves of them because we get very fixated on the rules that we have to protect ourselves, and we have assumptions based on previous experience that these social encounters aren't going to be happy or successful for us. But if you know what your limit is, and you can set that limit and work within that limit, socializing becomes a lot easier. Avoid certain venues, avoid certain gatherings, seek out certain kind of people, seek out certain kinds of experiences or environments. Know what your needs are and make sure that things are to some degree configured to meet those needs. And if they're not, limit your time in that setting or in that interaction to what's manageable for you, and make sure that afterward you are able to recharge yourself to compensate for all the effort you've put into this social interaction and to make yourself feel rebalanced at the end of it. Because the real risk is, if you don't do that, burnout will follow. Have you found that socializing as a neurodivergent is really exhausting and that you feel drained after all of it, and you have to engage in some kind of self-care activity to recharge, maybe on your own, engaging with a passion? I would love to hear all about your experiences.